Ew. Gotta get rid of this old Backstreet Boys t-shirt.
Tell me why.
Because it stinks, boys.
Tell me why.
I've washed it so many times, but the odor won't come out.
Tell me why.
No, you tell me why I can't get rid of this odor.
Have you tried Downy Rinse and Refresh? It doesn't just cover up odors. It helps remove them.
Wow, it worked, guys.
Yeah.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes more odor in one wash than the leading value detergent in 3 washes. Find it wherever you buy laundry products.
Hey everybody, welcome to Spotcast. I'm Tim Mitra and I'm joined by Jaime Jr.
How's it going? Or maybe I should have a different catchphrase for this one. Maybe it should be live long and prosper.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Greetings, Earthlings. Yes, exactly. I don't
Greetings.
know.
Mm-hmm.
What do we say for our original? We'll have to develop some other characters for this show, right? So what do you think? How do you like our little preview episode?
Oh, is that what you mean? Okay, sorry, you just went right into it. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Sorry, that was a really hard shift in context for me.
Yeah, sorry. No. No, I figured we had the material. I wasn't going to put it in the show, and I thought, well, I'll throw that over there. And I knew we had the after show where you and I talked about Doctor Who and stuff, just to give people an idea how we sound together and what we sort of think and say, right? So I can't. Is that the one where I talked about? It's when I talked about Star Wars. I want to see the actual movie, right? So yeah, I'm a little annoyed at these podcast apps because I was trying to listen to it today as I was walking the dog, and I'm still getting the full 1 hour and 7-minute version of it. And I'm not getting the 54-minute version that I recut the other day, right? So
that's interesting. I don't actually
53
know what
minutes.
I listened to. You said mine looked different than what yours was?
Yeah, the shield. Well, I've updated the shield, right? Because, like I said, I used the shield that was on the Discovery shield that was on their press release page. But I didn't want to use it long term and then have them say, "Hey, cease and desist," right? So I went in and made my own design in Photoshop, and then I sort of copied the letters. I downloaded the Star Trek font from, I think it's from either Undiscovered Country or what's the fifth one called? Final Frontier.
The Final Frontier.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. So when I look at the list, like played podcast list, it looks like it's the same logo as the Discovery.
Yeah, so it's cached,
stuff.
Right?
But when I go in to look at the actual episode, that preview art is like I recognize the space background you have. I can tell that it's different here, and it says Spockcast on over the
lettering. Yeah. Well, see, like I said, I was listening to it with my dog, and I was getting because I cut the stuff about the Boston Red Sox out, and I cut the stuff about your talk coming up out of it, right? Because we initially started talking about Idris Elba and that kind of stuff, right? So I left that in, and then I tacked in the stuff where we were talking about Star Wars and the original cut of Episode 4, right? So, by the way, I brought that with me to 360 iDev. I never did show it to you. The original, I have it on my iPhone. The original original Star Wars movie. I don't even want to call it A New Hope, but Episode 4, right? Because it just says Episode 4, and there's nothing like. In fact, I don't even think, does it say episode? Yeah, it must say Episode 4, but it doesn't say Episode 4 A New Hope, and then on the crawler, at the very beginning of the movie, right? It has the old style 20th Century Fox, drum and fanfare and that kind of stuff, right? I was watching Alien. We also talked about Alien, the movie, right? And that was on our Movie Time network the other day. So I watched that from the very beginning, and it has the same 20th Century Fox style that's on this original Star Wars cut that I have, right? And anyway, so I went through that whole movie and watched right to the very end, and including the scene where the Ripley underwear scene, like you called it, right? Yeah. So that was kind of an interesting memory lane kind of episode to watch, right? Because you really don't see, you never see the monster other than the chest burst scene where you see him burst out of his chest, and or the part where they beat up the robot guy. I've forgotten his name now. The character played by Bilbo Baggins, Ian Holm, right?
Yeah. I can't remember. Was it Ash and Bishop, right? Yes, I'm trying to remember what the two androids were. Ash
is the first one. Yeah. And they don't even know he's a robot, right? So, and they call him a robot too, as opposed to an artificial life form or whatever they call Bishop later, right? Yeah. And then Sigourney Weaver is also she's the last one as well, right? Let's call them replicants. Let's be rebels. But yeah, you don't even like, and I sort of said that you don't really see the guy in the suit. You do see him at the very end where he's hanging onto he's like on beside the engine, and she fires up the engine and blows him away from the ship, right? As he's dangling on the outside of her ship as she's trying to escape from the shuttle, right? Mm-hmm. I'm talking about Sigourney Weaver's character Ripley. Yeah, that's cool. And I've been watching just to get ready for Discovery. I've been watching the Star Trek, the original Star Trek series on Netflix. With the new rendered spaceship scenes and stuff like that, the exterior shots. I was watching. Do you remember the Corborite maneuver? That's the one where they have the standoff against a little cube, and it threatens to blow them up, and then they threaten to blow themselves up, and the cube with them, and they have that standoff. Right? I forget what the ship looked like. I think it was like a big, almost like looked like a model of a chemical or whatever. But in this one here, they've really gone to town with 3D rendering, and it just looks overdone. But it's funny what I'm watching it now. Like, I mean, I guess it's been probably a good 10, 15 years maybe since I watched it seriously or even sat down. Like, I mean, I know all the stories, but I don't know the nuance of them. And it's the first I'm 10 episodes in, and the first bunch are some of the wooden acting, like how they're calling out the technology around them. I think the Next Generation benefited from the fact that they had everything worked out to a T, and they had like art direction and that kind of stuff to have consistency. But in these original Star Trek episodes, they were all sort of a little out of the place, and I think they must have been filmed and broadcast out of order as well, right? So, have you ever sat down and watched them recently, like the original Star Trek?
I haven't, but what I have been watching is sort of spot watching various episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Right.
Because that's sort of my go-to. We never actually talked about that. Is it safe to presume that the original series is your favorite of all of them?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think in the same way that I remember watching the original Star Trek: The Next Generation when it came out. I was in my 20s. I think I was married at the time, or just gotten married, and everybody was looking forward to it. I remember I think we had like a viewing party. We had a bunch of people in the living room watching the first episode because it had been many years since Star Trek was actually on the air. Because I mean, I was 6 when it came out, so it was already on the air by the time I came to Canada. And then I remember my dad was told by some guys at work, you should watch this show, and he basically, that's how we ended up watching it. And it was on for a couple of years, and then it was in syndication forever, right? So you could watch they brought out the animated series, and so for me, the original Star Trek with all the wooden acting and all that kind of stuff, and whenever I always still laugh to this day when they ever have a fight, it's never the actual actor having the fight like it is today, and now actors do a lot of their own stunts. So they would have some sort of stunt fighters that kind of looked like, they were sort of the same body shape, but, different hair or whatever. So you could totally tell in the old 60s and 70s TV shows that whenever there was some sort of, fight or whatever, whether it was like a Western or a bar fight or whatever, it was never the actual, highly paid Hollywood actor that was involved in the tussle, right? So I suppose, yes. I mean, it was my show. I think I watched I can't remember how many of the Next Generation shows I actually watched because it kind of got I watched it for a while, and then I don't know, I think I had some sort of family issues or whatever, so I stopped watching it for a while, and then I came back to it, and by the time I came back to it, I really wasn't into it. You know what I mean? Like my mind was elsewhere,
right?
So I didn't really keep up with it. But yeah, there was that sort of waiting period, like sort of waiting for Star Wars for Star Wars Episode 1 to come back after 17 years, or waiting for Serenity, the movie for Firefly to come out, or any of those kind of things where you have to wait a period of time for the next issue to come. And I've seen every Star Wars movie or Star Trek movie there is, right? Like I even saw the first one in the theater, but I've seen all of the Star Trek movies in the theater. But I missed. I think I have probably seen all of the Star Trek Next Generations, but not in order. And I wasn't watching them regularly, right? So, but then when Deep Space Nine came out, I watched that, and when Voyager came out, I watched that as well. I think I skipped the second last season of Voyager. I think the Borg was really a cool concept in the Next Generation, but I missed that period of time. When Locutus, when Picard becomes Locutus, I missed that. I didn't see that part live. I kind of caught up with that after First Contact, the movie. Like that's when I went back and kind of looked up Locutus and that piece. I don't know how many episodes that took. Was that a number of? It was one episode or a couple of episodes?
It was a two-parter, and that's interesting that you didn't see it live because it's way different seeing it, on Netflix. Where you can it just automatically starts the next one,
right?
Sort of thing. Yeah. Or even I think there was a special sort of screening of it as a movie, like pieced together as one movie.
Oh yeah,
like an hour long, maybe not even an hour because they took out all the commercials and everything. It's way different in terms of the dramatic effect it has on you. The very tail end of season 3 was the season finale.
Oh, it was a cliffhanger.
Was the first part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
right,
and it cliffhangs you like right at the moment, and you have to spend the next like 3 months waiting for the season 4 series premiere to come up to see the resolution.
Yeah, and now these guys all have mid-season finales. They really figured that whole thing out, right? So
yeah, it makes sense because the sort of schedule has changed, and I was even looking at Star Trek Discovery's setup here, and it looks like it launches on September 24th. It has 8 episodes, which will get us into the first week in November, then a break for the holidays, and then it comes right back at the end of January, looks like, in 2018 for another, 7 episodes? 8 episodes? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 episodes. So it looks like it'll be 15 episodes in the season, which is, I think, a little bit shorter than, most Star Trek series have had for a season, but is just about in line with what you would see in sort of modern streaming-oriented series. Right? Well, there'll be, like a miniature series will be like 6 episodes, and then they'll tend to be about 10 to 13-ish for a season.
Yeah, I'm not, I don't. It's like I said with the Game of Thrones last week. It was too quick a season. Like I was just getting into it when it was over. Like I didn't realize there was only 7 episodes in this last season 7, right? But yeah, like I was expecting to be able to watch another week of it. But the same thing with like *Halt and Catch Fire*. They do the same thing where they showed a bunch of episodes and then they go away, right? So they've just broken for their mid-season break, and The Walking Dead, of course, does that as well, and so does Fear the Walking Dead. So it seems to be the new trend, I guess, right? But it's amazing, like if you look at Star Trek, the original one we were just talking about. I mean, there's 80 episodes, and that was over 2.5 years, right? So they must have bought I think did they buy 26 weeks? Does that make sense? 26.
That sounds
episodes?
About right. I think it's about 25, 26-ish episodes for Star Trek: The Next Generation, and I think it was not that different from the original series.
Oh, it was for 26 for each season in Star Trek in TNG, right? Yeah, because
something like that.
Because I think 13 weeks is a regular sitcom. I mean that was sort of the schedule you would expect for that, and then they would go into reruns or whatever. But and then you got the UK version where they do 6 episodes per season, right? And then if you're watching a show like Sherlock, you only get 3 episodes because they gang them up 2 at a time, right? 2 2-hour-long episons, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, everything's so brief and there's so much stuff to watch. It's funny, while you were just talking, I forgot about Battlestar Galactica, right? Because they had that whole resurgence. The original show was unwatchable. I mean, I know people watched it because they were probably kids at the time, but it was so clunky and didn't make any sense or whatever, right? It's very very much like. Have you ever watched the Planet of the Apes movies? You probably have. I have.
Right? I think I've seen all 4 of the original.
And then they had a Planet of the Apes TV show for a while. That's sort of jumping the shark for me when they used to go to TV, when they would take a movie concept and turn it into a TV show, and then because it never quite has the same budget and there's just some things that are a little campy, right?
Yeah.
And so that was one. But so Battlestar Galactica was originally a movie, right? And then it turned into a TV show, and it was on for I don't know how many years, but it didn't impress me compared. You got to remember too, Battlestar Galactica came out in the era of Star Wars, and the Star Trek movies were probably around the second Star Trek movies when it came out, right? So it had that to compete with. There were tons of really good sci-fi movies back then, and I just never really bought into it. And it also had Lauren Green, who's Canadian by the way, but he was the dad from what was that show called? Man, he played Ben Cartwright on a TV show in the 60s, and yeah, just people, how you get in your mind people are a certain character, like Patrick Stewart will always be Jean-Luc Picard, right? Like even though he's been in other movies since, and he's been Dr. X and in X-Men, and he was one of the knights in Excalibur and all that kind of stuff, right? So, but it's funny how certain actors get stuck into these ruts, right? So
yeah, for sure.
Or they get well, I mean, it's like I just met Matt Smith the other day. Did I tell you I bumped into Matt Smith? I didn't really bump into him, but I was at Fan Expo on Friday, and I went into, I bought my ticket in advance, so I came in the door where in this part of the convention where the people are signing stuff, right? And I was there around 11 o'clock and wandering around, and he was sitting there signing stuff, and I went to take a picture of him, and it's funny because I pulled up my camera, and I just, in the time it took me to pull my iPhone out, flip the camera, pointed at Matt Smith, his two security guards jumped in front of the frame, and I was like 50 feet away, like 50, like I wasn't like anywhere near him. Yeah, so they're watching like hawks for people pulling out their iPhones or whatever, right? So it's funny because I have a picture of his two, and you can just see the corner between their shoulders. You can see his hair as he's signing something. Anyway, so like the line was really short, and I thought, this is crazy, and so I went and asked somebody how much it cost for a signature, and it was like $100 US roughly. So I just thought about it for a minute, and another booth, the guy was selling photos for $10 with a sleeve. So I found a bank machine, got some cash, and went over and met the guy, and I was his last signature before lunch, right? So kind of cool. I got to meet a doctor, an actual Doctor Who, and he's actually he's one of my favorite doctors, if not my favorite doctor, right? So it was kind of cool. I got to tell him that, and got a fist pump out of him. I didn't get to shake his hand, but so I actually met the guy in the flesh, right? So yeah, that was kind of a fun time. But why was I telling you that? Oh yeah, because of Fan Expo. Yeah, I mean,
I'm guessing that's like a local sci-fi.
Oh yeah,
or is it more than just like, sci-fi? Like, I'm not familiar with Fan Expo.
Yeah, it's like a baby Comic-Con, like baby Comic-Con. Like it's the big one in Toronto. It's packed with people and cosplay and all kinds of props and comic. It started out as a comic book convention back in like when I first started going with my stepson in the 90s. It was just boxes of comic books, and then it slowly Sci-Fi started getting added to it, and now they have you can pay $100 and have a photo with Matt Smith, or you can pay $100 and have a signing with him. And you have to stand in these long queues to get to meet the people. But like Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead was there, Barry Boswell, the whole cast of Rocky Horror Picture Show, like Tim Curry, the ladies that played Magenta, and what's her name? Meatloaf was there, and Barry Boswick who played Brad was there. It was even like Facebook cosplay stars, like apparently or not Facebook, but YouTube stars or whatever, Instagram stars, like people who are online. They're famous that they're famous online, right? they're well-known cosplayers, as they were, I guess, right? So
right,
yeah, and all the movie stars are all there, and Karen Gillan was supposed to be there, but she had to cancel because of a filming conflict or whatever. But yeah, it's like I said, it's a baby Comic-Con, but it runs for 3.5 days, I think. So it's not quite as it's not like Comic-Con, which is almost like WWDC, hard to get a ticket, right? But yeah, so but it's our chance to meet the stars or meet artists and stuff like that. There's a whole artist table where you bring a sketch. My son has a sketchbook, and he goes and meets the artists, and he gets them to draw him a picture for like, I don't know, they charge $20 or $30 or whatever to draw him a character that they do, and then they sign it and so on and so forth. So that's kind of interesting. He's got this huge scrapbook of drawings by people. And then what else have they got? Yeah, and all the like Nintendo's there, and PlayStation and Microsoft is there with the Xbox. And there's a couple of stores that sell games and stuff like that. And our Space Channel celebrities are there. So there's lots of Lego and Hasbro stuff, and yeah, it's a good interesting show. And they have like Comic-Con, they have Hasbro, Star Wars characters that are specific to this particular expo, right? So I guess they must do that around the different places, right? Have you ever been to a convention or anything like that?
Yeah, not anything as big as the San Diego Comic-Con. There's an Emerald City Comic-Con that goes on in Seattle. That's pretty good. I've been to like a smaller Star Trek one that was, just like a few floors of a hotel sort of thing. And that was good. Yeah, I think maybe the most notable person they had at that one was the actor who played Lurch.
Oh, really?
So Mr. Hong? What was his name? Who was Luxwana Troy's
him, yeah. He's
servant.
He was also in the he's also been in Star Trek. I was watching here again. He was all over the place back in the 60s. He was like the big guy, right? So
yeah.
What's his name? I should know his name.
Yeah, he's pretty large. Like even for a man in his advanced age, he's still,
his name is Ted Cassidy.
Pretty considerably sized.
Yeah, his name is Ted Cassidy, which you would never associate with a guy. Yeah, that's his name, Ted Ted Cassidy. Just a normal guy, really. But yeah, he was in a lot of sci-fi stuff like that in the 60s and 70s. And then the guy who replaced him was the guy who played Jaws on the James Bond series with Roger Moore, right? Mm-hmm. That's the next big guy. But he was there, right? Yeah. So I mean. So here, like, when you come down to regrets too, like, Carrie Fisher was at, our Fan Expo. She's been there a couple times and, yeah, like I kind of stood at the back of the line. I kind of like saw her there and thought, it'd be kind of cool to get a signature by her. But, now that she's no longer possible to get her signature, it's hard to get her. Oh, Anthony Daniels was at the show, C-3PO. He was at the show this week as well. So he was a bit more expensive than Doctor Who to get a signature from, though.
I can imagine because he's still active too, right? Like they're still shooting the movies.
That's true. Yeah. And definitely they had a sign above his desk saying no photos, right? But yeah, Matt Smith's still acting. He was in The Crown. I forgot to mention that I saw him in The Crown. He played Prince Philip, right? In the story about Queen Elizabeth Queen Elizabeth II. Yeah, it's interesting thing. That was just this weekend going by, right? So was it? Yeah, just this weekend. It's always the first weekend, last weekend of August, first weekend of September is Fan Expo here in Toronto, Ontario at the Metro Convention Center. So, yeah. It's where we have our car show and, lots of big conferences and stuff like that. The big space. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, it's like one of these things, like, like I, for sure. I know I was, when I was standing there going, oh, this is way too much to get an autograph. But when I saw the line thin down to like 5 people, I thought, screw it. I'm going to do it. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting thing for, these actors and actresses that I can see both sides, right? Like, in some respects, it's like, come on, man, like I can't take a picture, it's not like it's my little selfie here while where there's like 100 other people around you is not going to be as good as like the the $100 or shaking hands or something photo, whatever it is that they do for the pose. But I get it because it's it's part of their brand, right? And they should have the right to control that sort of thing. And if I was sitting in their shoes, I'm like, well, how would I be? Would I be more of I'm here at McDonald's, you see me, great, let's do a quick selfie or something.
Yeah.
And I think I would probably do that. Like, we might sell the staged photos with like a really nice background and everything. And maybe I'm doing whatever pose is known for me. And sell the signatures and stuff like on a nice like thing, right? Not like something you bring to me, but like, hey, here's like this headshot or like movie poster or something. Like those ones are like, we've given you product. Whereas I think I would probably do the autograph signatures of like, oh, they ran into me at like the bookstore. Hey, great, let me sign the book that you want me to, right? Especially if it's a dedication thing instead of the just my signature thing that people will tend to resell. But if it's like, oh, to Maggie or to Jonathan or whatever, never lose hope or whatever the catchphrase happens to be.
Right, yeah. I had him write "Fezzes are cool" on my picture, by the way. But well, I have a friend. So the thing about it is like, it's one of these things where you have to understand from the actor's perspective. Yeah, I mean, they may get crazy mad money to do these shows initially, but I've forgotten her name now. The lady who's the star of Discovery is just coming off of a few years on The Walking Dead. But actors go from
so it depends. So when you say star, do you mean the first officer?
Yeah, what's her name?
Sonequa Martin Green.
Right. Yeah, her. Yeah, and the kung fu lady is also in Michelle Cho. What's her?
Michelle Yeoh as the captain. Mm-hmm.
She's the captain. Okay, yeah, cool. And then yep. Jeremy Isaac from he's a British actor, but he's from Harry Potter. Played what's his name, Lucius, right? So I have a couple of friends who are actors, right? And it's kind of like it's almost like being in a band. I mean, they go from gig to gig. Like I think a lot of people don't realize that you get these short-term contracts to make this particular product or this vehicle or you're a character in a story, and then you may get picked up. Like my friend Rick in LA right now, he played a character in the Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show, right? And he just had a one part, and then they brought him back for a couple more bits and a couple of lines. And he was just saying the other day on Facebook that he went in for this one particular episode of a show, and then they had him come back, and then they had him come back again, and now they're giving him like lines to read, and now he's turns out he's going to be a regular character. But I have another friend who was in another sci-fi show, which I'm not going to name for reasons, but she basically was in the show for a number of seasons. She was one of of the protagonists in the story, and then something went wrong. She ended up getting written out of the story, quote unquote, as she likes to say, fired. But she's not allowed to go to conventions and sign things as a former person who played this character in this particular sci-fi show, right? Like, so Matt Smith has the right to go and say, I was once the Doctor, or get, wear, put a fez on and take a picture with you and say, yes, it's, the guy who played Doctor Who is appearing, because there's something in his contract that lets him do that, right? And it's kind of like, when you go see a band play in a concert, the ticket prices are crazy these days because a lot of the ticket prices are absorbed by the people who book the concert and by the venue and all that kind of stuff. The reason why you pay $13 for a beer at a baseball game, or I don't know what you pay in the States, but that's what we pay up here, is because the venue is not really making that much money from having the artist in their venue. I mean, other than, they make a little bit off of each seat, but the real money's made in the concession stands, right? In the same sense that, the reason why these actors charge for photos and charge for autographs is because this is a revenue stream for them that in some ways they're entitled to. It's us giving back as fans to them. So like you could say to me, you paid $100 to get Matt Smith's autograph, but by the same token, I paid Matt $100. But he's got like security guards, he's got like people who are handling the commerce for him. He's got he's got an agent there managing him. So there's a lot of people that he has to bring with him to these particular events for his own protection and to facilitate his ability to go and sign things, right? Or to appear in photos. So I mean, there's he has some costs to fly. I mean, I'm sure the venue probably pays to fly him there and that kind of stuff, right? That's part of the reason why the ticket prices are so high. But this is sort of some money in his pocket. Like whenever I go to a concert and for a band or whatever, and they have and I like the band and I don't have their latest CD, I will gladly pay them the $20 cash at the t-shirt stand to buy the CD, because that $20 is going to the artist after they've paid to have the CD made, right? As opposed to when you go to HMV or, God forbid, iTunes, where at iTunes they get 2% or 3% of the sale of a piece of music on iTunes. Like they're not getting very much money, right? It's not like us developers who get 70%, right? So I don't, I understand. I grumble about the fact that I have to pay that much money, but then again, the other side of me that rationalizes and says, well, this is how this guy's making money between his next gig, right? Because I mean, what's he going to do? As we just said, he's been typecast as Matt Smith, Doctor Who, right? He can play Prince Philip because he's English and he's kind of like tall and thin like Prince Philip was, but what else is he going to do, right? He might get a job in a sitcom or whatever, right? But Patrick Stewart was lucky that he was able to fit right into. I mean, I shouldn't say lucky. I mean, they make a lot of money for a short period of time. It's just like professional sports, right? They make a lot of money they make a ridiculous amount of money for a short period of time, but still there are operational costs and all that kind of stuff, and agents and managers and the whole infrastructure that we don't see behind, right? That is involved in that, right? But I remember one analogy. I've talked about this coaching program I was in before, and one of the things that they talk about in the coaching thing is they use Frank Sinatra as an analogy in terms of when you're trying to set your business up. You want to basically get to the point where your business and you have enough people supporting you so you can just go up and do that one thing that brings the most value to you or to your customers, right? So in the case of Frank Sinatra, it was singing, right? So he had a whole infrastructure of people behind him that would, somebody would pick him up in a car, somebody would get him, clean his suit off, whatever, wake him up at the appropriate time, put him in the car, drive him to the venue, hand him a scotch, give him a cigar, and say, there you go, Mr. Sinatra, there's the microphone, go sing, right? So there's a whole infrastructure behind that gets him to that microphone so he can do his performance, right? But behind the scenes, we don't see all the sort of stuff that goes on unless you look at the DVD making of kind of thing, right? And that's my 2 cents on why we pay for autographs and photos. If you meet them in the street and they sign your they take a picture with you, that's great, or a selfie or whatever, right? And again, like I know there's a side of fandom where people say, well, they wanted to be famous, right? And the question is, did they really want to be famous, or did they really just have a passion for acting, or this is what they can do best, right? right? Like maybe driving a streetcar is what you do best, or, managing an iOS team is what you do best,
And you never know how these things are going to turn out, right? Like, I don't know that Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner thought, hey, while they're sitting there in this obviously terrible set somewhere that's supposed to be, some sort of alien planet, and it's really just like this really sad setup that's like a high school production sort of thing. I'm pretty sure they had no idea that they were going to become, cultural icons, and that this show was going to take on a life of its own and become something that people sort of celebrate through multiple generations for many years. So since you can't know what that future is going to be like, I think it's totally makes sense that they would, try to do whatever they can to scrape by in some cases.
Maximize that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it takes a long time. One of my favorite movies is Galaxy Quest. You've seen that movie?
Yes, I think that's a very, very good movie that covers it's so Star Trek without being Star Trek kind of aspect of it. Yeah.
But the behind the scenes part is like where they, my favorite line is where Sigourney Weaver, she's reading, the computer says something, and then she repeats what the computer says, and they say to her, "Why do you keep repeating what the computer says?" She says, "Because that's my role. That's all I do in this whole thing. That's my whole. Don't take that away from me, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And the Tim Allen character, he's the one that's the superstar, right? And yet he's this incompetent dad, and so on and so forth, right? But I do remember actually coming back to Fan Expo. I think it was about it might have been like 10 years ago, but Leonard Nimoy was there, and I remember in the case of Tim Curry, he wasn't like signing stuff at a desk. He was in a special room, and you had to buy a ticket to have an appointment to go and meet the guy and get his signature for the 2 seconds or 3 seconds that you're in the room with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I talked to Matt Smith probably for like 30 seconds. If it was that long, I'd be surprised, right? Whereas, so with Leonard Nimoy, you had to do it. With William Shatner, you had to do that. With Tim Curry, you had to do that. When they're mega stars or whatever, they have that's how it is, right? And then, but then they also do these things where you can buy a ticket to get to see the panel of speakers, like the Star Trek Discovery cast. I don't know if all of them were there, but very many of them were there, and they did like a panel talk where I guess people got to ask. There was a moderator who got to ask some questions, and then they probably took questions from the audience. Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes came for. They always do something here at our Fan Expo, right? So they always have like a Kevin Smith, Jason Mewes, with Silent Bob and sort of talk, right? So
yeah,
good times. But yeah, it's interesting stuff, right? So have you watched any of the trailers of Discovery? You got any ideas what the show is going to be about?
It's kind of interesting because there's even like a whole set of drama around the creation of Discovery, right? Where, as far as I understand, the general premise is this takes place some number of years before the original Star Trek series. So it's technically an
even
interquel
before Enterprise,
because it's
right? Yeah.
No, it's after Enterprise, but before Star Trek: The Original Series.
Okay.
I couldn't find an easy thing. Where
What's the star date? What's the star date?
Right?
Yeah.
All right. I remember something that it was like 5 to maybe 15 years prior to to the voyages in the original Star Trek series. So let's just say it's there because I can't find an easy link right now. So post Enterprise, but just a little bit prior to Star Trek. And it's really unclear to me what the premise is, like the driving force, because it seems it seems as if they're going to have it a little bit more serialized, so closer to style of Deep Space Nine as opposed to the episodic style for The Next Generation, the original series,
right.
Voyager. I think Enterprise tried to do a little bit of serialization while still being largely episodic. But it sounds like a little bit more of the actual premise, right? Like all I've seen from the trailers is like, the first officer is getting recruited by the captain, in this case, Michelle Yeoh's character, and it looks like it's sort of I really don't want to do this, but the first officer, Michael, what is the character's name? Michael Burnham, looks like she doesn't want to join, but Captain Philippa Georgiou, I'm not sure how that's pronounced, Michelle Yeoh's character is like, you really should do this thing. So it has a little bit of a feel of like the Ensign Ro character, Ensign Ro Laren, where she's got some sort of mysterious past, possibly bad things have happened, and yet she's being thrust into this role because Starfleet thinks thinks that she's the right person, or maybe this captain thinks that she's the right person to help on this ship.
Right. Well, from what I mean, like it's supposedly the Klingons' initial meeting with the Klingons, because the Klingons weren't in Enterprise, I don't believe, right? So it's the meeting, because the first conflict with the protagonists in the Star Trek series and the original Star Trek series was the Klingons and the Romulans, right? They were the two, and the Romulans were supposed to be close to the Vulcans, right? They were supposed to be like from the same Genesis pool or whatever. But so sort of early Klingon. It says right here, on the wiki page here, explores a Federation / Klingon war, Cold War that followed following the crew of the USS Discovery. And apparently Martin Green's character, Michelle Burnham, as you said, she is supposedly been raised by Sarek, who is Spock's father, right? So it's surprising to be named our podcast Spockcast. I probably made the unsubconscious connection, but so, and it's funny, like, they sort of say that Spock never mentions his sister in the original series and blah, 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 but then, what are you going to do, right? Can't go back and rewrite history. So it's some story about where she came from, whether she's an older sister or younger sister or whatever. She's not, let's see, does it say? Yeah, she's apparently the first human to attend the Vulcan Learning Center and the Vulcan Science Academy. So I guess she's going to be a bit like a Spock type character, but, obviously with emotions closer to the surface than Spock had, right?
It sounds like a reverse Spock, right? Because Spock was the first one to go become a Starfleet officer. Right. So that's kind of an interesting, and, I can see the hand waving by, in terms of the retconning the continuity here, where it's like, well, Spock never mentioned he had a sister. It's like, well, he kind of never mentioned he had a brother either. That was like a whole premise of a movie. Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Right. And it kind of, if anything, has been pretty consistent about the Vulcans as they've been portrayed, is that they really don't tell you anything unless they have to, unless they find it logical to tell you. And Sarek's character was kind of like that, right? If you remember that Star Trek The Next Generation episode where he makes an appearance, it's very clear that he hasn't talked to his son in quite some time. And spoilers, his son is off trying to see if he can reunite the Vulcans and the Romulan peoples. Right. Yep, so it seems like neither one of these guys, they don't do anything other than keep it pretty close to the vest, right? It's not as if they're telling you stuff day in and day out. So I'll give it a pass on that one. Like I'd like to see how they present it, but I could see how it could be done sensibly. Yeah, I suppose too. And it's interesting. I'm looking here. They got Rainn Wilson from The Office as Harcourt Fenton Mudd. They don't name him. They call him Harry Mudd here, which is how he's known in Star Trek. He's the guy who sold Tribble. No, he wasn't the Tribble guy. He was another guy. But he had the Harry Mudd was in a couple of episodes of the original episode, and he was played by a guy named Roger C. Carmel. But but his name is Harcourt Fenton Mudd, or Harry Mudd. That's it. So that's a crossover to the original series, right? Because again, that sort of belies that sort of, is this in the same time frame? So it has to, because Harry Mudd is a human, right, from Earth. So he can't be that old. He's like, I don't know, 30s or 40s by the time he shows up on the Next Generation, or it's the original Star Trek movie. I think he's in like let me just see it. I just watched the Corporate Maneuver, and before that was the one with the kids. So he was probably in the 6th or 7th episode of the original series, right? So that character, right? So he's in this one. So, and Jason Isaacs, I think we mentioned him as, he's the captain of Discovery. So is Michelle Yeoh on the same ship? Because they mentioned another ship here. I'm a little bit unclear on that, and I'm trying to find some. So it describes Captain Isaacs here as Gabriel Lorca, captain of the Discovery. Right. But then if you look at Michelle Yeoh's character,
Captain of Shenzhou?
Captain of the Shenzhou.
Yeah, so according here,
interesting.
Yeah, so Sequisha Martin Green was the first officer on the USS Shenzhou and later USS Discovery. So this must be her coming over to that, right? So it's here in Toronto too, which is kind of interesting because we do a lot of filming here, actually just south of my house, believe it or not. And they also filmed on location in Jordan, I guess, because there's some scenes, I think on our website we've got a picture of Martin Green and Michelle Yeoh, and they look like they're in desert outfits, right? That must be from the early scenes, right?
Yeah. And Tim, I've noticed you've got a particular pronunciation of these. I know I've seen the trailers. They probably don't mention some of these names real fast. So that name is Sequisha. Is that how that's pronounced?
Yeah, Sequisha Martin Green, yeah.
Sonequa.
Sonequa. Sorry, I'm reading it wrong.
Oh, okay, cool.
Sonequa,
so I thought I just had the name completely wrong. And is she playing a Michael or a Michelle Burnham?
Well, it's spelled Michael, because Michelle is spelled Michelle. That's how you spell Michelle normally, right? And even Michelle, the French name for Michelle is Michel, no A, right? So when you say Michelle, like if it's a man, Michelle, right? Yeah, so I would, to me, this is Michael Burnham, but it could be Michelle. I guess we'll have to wait and find out, right? So yeah, no, Sinequa Martin Green. Anyway, she played a character on. It's funny though. This is another thing I wanted to talk to you about was have you watched The Walking Dead with the latest series?
I've seen some of it. Does she play Michonne on The Walking Dead?
No. That's a different character.
Different actress. Okay, because I've not seen The Walking Dead in a very long time.
Well, she played her and the brother got picked up by Rick and the gang, somewhere around, I want to say like 3 or 4 seasons ago. Her brother has since passed away. When they met, when they found, they went to Sanctuary or something like that it was called, before they went to the town now. Now their protagonist is a guy named Negan who carries a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire. And there's a story about that I'm going to tell in a minute. But so she stayed with them, and she just passed away. She just died in this last series. And it's kind of funny how all of a sudden, in the story, like, because, you never know when people are going to leave the show, and you're always surprised when somebody gets injured or somebody gets hurt or somebody gets, I'm just going to say killed. I don't want to say, no, I'm not going to say it. But she just, like, all of a sudden she just went, to me, out of character and went off into this one situation which jeopardized her health, if you will. And she, similarly is killed by Negan and his gang, right? And it was kind of like, oh, I got this other contract that's going to pay me more money, so write me out of the show. Is how now that, hindsight being 2020, I think I mentioned that last week with Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones. He kind of like, ended up in a really cool looking show, and I think it's a new Marvel vehicle that they're premiering in IMAX, but it's going to be a TV show. Have you seen that one? Anyway, but
no, I don't know which one that is, but that does sound pretty interesting.
Yeah, but it kind of you mean the fact that all of a sudden these people disappear and then they show up, or
no? I mean that's a different fact. I mean just Ramsay Bolton. I like the actor. He did a really good job of making you despise that character. Man, I hated that guy. Gleeful character. That guy. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. He's and that guy Jack Gleason who played the blonde king, the one that married to the purple wedding the purple wedding where he gets poisoned by. We're not going to say who poisons him until you finish watching the show. Joffrey. Yeah, he plays Joffrey. I really hated him, his character. And same with the guy from Harry Potter who was Harry's nemesis, Jason Isaac's son. Forgotten his name now. I just watched the Harry Potter series on the weekend as well. Anyway, I don't know the actor's name, but Draco Malfoy, is that who you're referring to?
Draco Malfoy's character. Yeah. So Jason Isaac played Lucius Malfoy. But I was going to say that. The actor who plays Ramsay Bolton is in it. I think it's a show called Superhumans, and you haven't seen any previews or trailers for that one?
I haven't.
No. Oh man, that one's premiering soon. I think do you have the IMDb? Do you have an iPad?
Yes.
Yeah. So load up the IMDb app on your iPad, because they have I don't know what they're doing with their website, because their website is crap compared to the iPad app. The iPad app is amazing. You don't have to create an account or whatever, but even though it says on the first screen that you do, but they, I watch movies with my iPad in my lap, and so there's all these trivia notes about movies and behind the scenes stuff, but they also have previews and trailers for upcoming TV shows and movies, right? So, and that's where I first saw that. And I think when I went and saw a couple of movies, like what did I see in the theaters recently? There must have been Dunkirk I saw, and Baby Driver, and there was another Marvel one. Wasn't there? Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Before that one started, they showed a trailer for this Superhumans show. So yeah, he plays.
Oh, that's why I was getting confused. Are you talking about Inhumans? Is that what's up?
Inhumans, yes.
Okay, that's. I was looking. I was like, I keep finding this Stan Lee thing that's about actual people that have, they have particular like weird things that they can do. So they're called superhumans.
But have you seen the trailer for that one? Because he's in that one.
Oh, yeah.
Inhumans.
I have.
It's called Inhumans.
I've seen some of the teaser trailer, I think. I don't think I've
stop
seen
yelling at your phones.
Yeah. Inhumans.
Yeah. So it's starting. It's premiering as a movie, and then it's switching over to. Let me just see if this is the right one. Yeah. If you see the images for the show, he is Ivan Rowan. I would say is how you'd say his name. That's the guy who played Ramsay Bolton. Gillan. He's on Twitter as it's IWAN. I would say that's Ivan. I could be wrong.
So he plays the character Maximus. I'm not as familiar with the Inhumans, although I do recognize some of the characters like Black Bolt and the weird dog that they have.
Right.
I don't know the characters well enough to tell who exactly he's playing, so I'd have to look up that character.
So you've read some of the comic books, you mean, or graphic novels?
I know I definitely have. He plays a supervillain.
A supervillain?
It says Maximus is a fictional supervillain appearing in Inhumans. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so this is ABC. Who's behind, is it Netflix behind the new Star Trek?
No, that would be CBS, at least here. In fact, that's going to be on CBS All Access, which is their streaming service. How much does that even cost?
Oh, so you won't be able to see it on TV? We should move to Canada.
No, no, they're it's so interesting how the rights for that work. So at least here in the United States, CBS is using this as they're using it as their sort of wedge to sort of grow this whole thing. Like right now, apparently I can stream every episode of Star Trek ever, and it looks like it's all the series right here from their homepage. But in Canada, the it seems like the licensing works a little different. Like
we have a space.
You were lucky enough to have The Force Awakens just for free right there in your normal Netflix subscription. It still
and Rogue One and Rogue One. Do you have Rogue One yet?
We do have Rogue One, and that was a surprise to me. I'm not sure what happened with the rights there. Yeah.
Well, maybe everybody dies in the end, so they don't care, right? Also, in this Inhuman show is Anson Mount. I don't know if you watched Hell on Wheels, but he played a guy named Kellen Bohannon in that on AMC for a while, right? So they just finished they just had their last season just this last year, right? So frees up all these actors to be in these new shows. That's what I'm saying. See, I'm saying it's a conspiracy.
Yeah, I think the new sort of streaming world will make it easier for actors to show up in multiple series, because before, when you have something like a TNG or even the original Star Trek series, like they shot those things week by week and they had their production schedule. Yeah. And they probably shot multiple episodes per week, but it wasn't as if they did them all at once. I don't know how far they had. Let's for the sake of discussion, assume that they have like 2 months, like 8 episodes ahead. So they shoot 8 episodes and okay, great. Let's start premiering those while we start producing the other episodes. And you can tell where like production sometimes goes off kilter for like a writer's strike or an actor's strike or whatever it is. And then there would be like, oh, this is like a clip show on the end of season 2 or something weird like that, right? Where they try to save money and still produce something. I think now with the shorter, as we said, what is this, like 15 episodes we said for Discovery? And I don't know if they're going to produce them all in the same way, but assuming they do like a Netflix would do, where Netflix will say, hey, we have all these episodes. We've already shot them all. We're going to release them all at once on day one, right? Like I think that sort of scheme going forward will open up opportunities for these actors to spend, I don't know, a couple months shooting somewhere and then jump to the next job where they shoot for a couple months and the next job where they shoot for a couple of months. So you might end up seeing a lot of these actors in different roles in the future.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that because there's another show, the show Will and Grace, do you ever watch that show? It was a sitcom.
Used to, and it's coming back.
It's coming back. Well, so what's his name? That plays the main character, Will. He's Canadian. I wish I can't remember his name, but hang on. We have the internet. We can look this up. Will and Grace.
Yeah, he spent some time in like a CSI or similar, right?
Yeah, no, it's a great show. It's called, hang on, Eric McCormick is his name now that I've been looking for him. I just remembered what his name was. But he's been in a show, and it's just coming back to season 2, because I was kind of wondering, like, so if he's doing Will and Grace, is he going to be able to do the other show, right? And he's in a show called, what is this sci-fi show called? Come on, this is a sci-fi show podcast. We should know this name.
Wait, he's on a sci-fi show?
Yeah.
I thought he was like on a really CSI kind of show.
Oh, yeah, that one's called, that may be called Perception, you're thinking of? Crime drama? I haven't seen that one, but no, he's in this show called, it's really good. And they just finished, their season 2 is coming out in a few weeks as well. Oh, here was this list of shows. Television.
Travelers, I guess, is the newest thing I see here. Science fiction TV series.
Yeah. That's a really good one. If you haven't seen that, I think that's on our Canadian Netflix right now, Travelers. So the first season of that. But yeah, watch that one. That's a real good one. I'm not going to tell you anything more about about it than that. I really like shows. No, I'm not going to say it.
Now I understand why I had no clue what you were talking about, because it's a Canadian show.
Oh, is it?
That makes sense.
Well, you know what? It's funny. We were talking about who was I talking to? So a friend of mine is a Canadian director of photography type guy. We're probably going to have him on roundabout one of these days. But he was telling me about. So I was mentioning to him about Orphan Black and this other show which I was talking about the other day. Holy cow! Talk about blank. Anyway, he was telling me that a lot of these shows are American productions that are filmed in Canada, filmed in Toronto and Vancouver, right? So Travelers may in fact be it's a Canadian/American TV series, right? So it's created.
I think it means that like the Americans decided they wanted to use that sweet Canadian government money for producing Canadian content. Yep. And so you're right. It probably does mix, but I don't remember that being like. Does it come out on like a normal channel here? It's co-production between Netflix and Showcase. I think Showcase is a Canadian channel, right? But Netflix is American. Okay. Yeah, Showcase is a TV channel here for kind of not quite HBO. You know, it's part of your cable package, but it's not. You don't pay any extra for it, right? So I see here. So it says here, first season premiered on Showcase. The series premiered globally outside of Canada on Netflix in December of 2016. Okay.
Yeah, definitely another.
Yeah, I think this is one of those shows that's like not trumpeted as much on Netflix. Of course, Netflix, their original series, they're going to push forward a bit more because they don't have to pay any licensing. That one, right? They've purchased the rights to that or produced this series itself. I do end up with a lot of after the fact Canadian series. Like I think I've gotten about 2/3 of the way through Millennium, and it's kind of funny seeing like all these other like weird random sci-fi shows show up in my Netflix queue because of that. It's like, oh, because you watch this thing, here's these other shows you might like.
Yeah.
Then you watch an episode or two, be like, hey, I think this is a Canadian show. You know why? Because I saw that dude, and he's Canadian, and he was in this other show.
Right. Well, the other show I was trying to remember the name of is called Dark Matter, and I think Dark Matter is now it's on our Netflix as well, so it's probably on yours too. But it's a really good show. I just started watching that one too. But yeah, it's just
that's a perfect example right there, where one of the actors, I would call him African American, but he's probably African Canadian. Think about it. The African Canadian guy is in Millennium and Dark Matter. At least, I saw the first couple episodes of Dark Matter. I haven't seen the series, but
what's his name? Mark.
I don't remember his. What's that?
Mark Ben David. Does that sound right?
I have no idea what any of the actors' names are, except for literally the only one who I knew from Millennium was Lexa Doig, and that's only because I was a huge fan of Andromeda. If you remember that TV series, with Kevin Sorbo.
Right? Really, you like that show? Mm-hmm. I could never. Never could get into it.
Well, let's see. Let me see when it came out. Let me see. One sec. Let's see here on Wikipedia. Andromeda. Let's see here. So it came out. It came out later than I thought it had. All right. So it premiered in the year 2000. So as a wee lad in my freshman year of college, I enjoyed it for what it was. It was kind of campy. I always felt it kind of didn't get as much love that went in Farscape's direction. Mm-hmm. So I felt like I chose like the Betamax of under the radar sci-fi series.
So was that not I want to say it's Gene Roddenberry. Yeah, Gene Roddenberry came up with that one. It's funny. I was watching I just remembered a TV show. I don't know. There was one TV show where this one character played by Mariette Hartley, who was actually also in Star Trek, the original series, where she had two belly buttons, right? And the name of the show was Genesis 2. And I remember watching it at the time because I used to look for a lot of shows by Gene Roddenberry because I really liked Star Trek back in, so I guess to answer your earlier question, yes, Star Trek was my favorite show or of these types, right? But in the 70s, I had this really campy show called Genesis 2, which was this show that I was talking about with the two belly buttons. But apparently, and the reason he put two belly buttons in because he wasn't allowed to show belly buttons in the original Star Trek, according to Gene Roddenberry.
Just double it up there, right?
Yeah, here you go. And so apparently, apparently there was 3 shows he did in the mid 70s: Genesis 2, Strange New World, and Planet Earth. And I know I remember Genesis 2, but I don't remember the other 2. Yeah. So again, like coming back to what I said before, when the Next Generation was coming out, we were all like super excited for it. It was like the early 80s, right? When that first came out, must have been 83, 82, somewhere in there, right?
I have to think about that one.
You're saying one of the actresses in Andromeda was also in Dark Matter?
No. So, and having looked at Alexa Doig's filmography, I realize I've embarrassingly confused the name Continuum with Millennia, which is a totally different show starring Lars Henriksen, Bishop, as we mentioned before.
Oh yes, yeah. That's another good one. Continuum was a good show too.
Yeah,
they almost lost me there for a while. I don't know. Lately shows have been losing me if they get too television-y, if they get too sort of contrite, then I don't not the right word, but yeah, I've actually stopped watching some sci-fi shows because they just get a little get tired of them. They're sort of very formulaic. That's what I'm looking for, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely the sort of thing where I appreciate the smaller scoped series where it's like, okay, we either know that there's a particular plan, that this is a one season series, or maybe it's a 2 or 3 season series, but there's an overall arc that they have. I think where shows start to lose me is when it becomes, they're trying to keep this going on as long as they can. And so characters will start doing weird things that don't make any sense.
Right.
Or they'll be like, the truth is revealed this week. It's like, obviously it's not. This is like the middle of the season. They're not going to reveal the truth. Right. You're just going to be stringing me along to keep me watching week by week.
Sure. Yeah. Well, on that happy note, it's way past my bedtime, so we should probably call it a day and wrap up this episode. So, hey, Jaime, if people want to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
They can find me on Twitter as @DevWithAHair. And my final note is it's Roger Cross who shows up on Continuum and Dark Matter.
Okay, the actor Roger Cross?
Yeah, I just looked up his filmography.
Okay, cool. I'll have to check them out. And as I said at the beginning, I'm Tim Mitra, TIMMITRA on the Twitcher machine, and we'll talk to you guys in the future. If you want to find out more about the podcast or see episode show notes, visit the Spockcast website at spockcast.com. You can get in touch with us on the website or follow us on Twitter at Spockcast. If you have feedback or questions, send us a tweet with the hashtag AskSpockcast. If you like the show, please consider recommending us to a friend or writing a review on iTunes. You can find out details on how to help us out on our website at spockcast.com/sponsor us. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the future. It's funny, I was going to mention Killjoys. I don't know if you've seen the TV show Killjoys, but I haven't. It was really confusing me at first because there's I got to look this up now because where we go here. Oh, I hate when I click on a little lock on a website on a web browser and I get the certificate open. Sean Astin. Is it Sean Astin? Which one is the guy from
Samwise Gamgee in Lord of the Rings?
No, that is Sean Astin. You're right. No, there is a Sean Astin. No, yeah, Sean Astin is Gomez Adams' son, right? Do you know that?
No, I had no idea. So
do you know who Patty Duke is?
Yes.
She had a TV show called Patty Duke, right? And she married a guy named John Astin, right? Let me just see here. So Astin was born as a son in Santa Monica, California, son of actress Patty Duke. And I thought John Astin was his dad, or maybe just his stepdad. Yes, no, Astin subsequently adopted Sean. But yeah, his parents were Sean Astin, who played Gomez Adams, and Patty Duke of the Patty Duke Show, right? So small world, eh? Bet you didn't know that. But anyway, that's not who I'm talking about. Sean, somebody rather. Let me look at Killjoys here. This is one of the shows that I've fallen out of favor with. But you know what? It's on Netflix, so even though I stopped watching it this season. This is season 3. I stopped watching it. I know I can go back and watch it again. Okay, so Aaron Ashmore, right? His brother is Shawn Ashmore from the X-Men series, right? You know who Shawn Ashmore? He's the one that was in love with who's the girl that played the one that would freeze everybody?
Oh, wait, he plays Iceman, Bobby. I can't remember the character's name.
Bobby. Yeah. So Aaron Ashmore, right, is the exact twin of Shawn Ashmore, and they're identical twins. Like, if you watch Killjoy, you would think for like a year, I'm like, who is this guy? Where have I seen him before? And then I had to go to the IMDb app or the website somewhere and find out that he's in fact a different guy than the guy on X-Men, but they look identical, right? So both Canadians, by the way, apparently. So yeah, he's known for this guy played Jimmy Olsen on Smallville, which I don't know if did you ever watch Smallville?
I never got into Smallville. That's
I watched a little bit of it, but yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah, weirdness. Anyway, just if you saw him on Killjoys, you would totally think he's the guy from X-Men, but you'd be wrong. But then again, you might think the guy on Smallville is the guy from X-Men, and you'd also be wrong again there too, right? So
that's so weird when there's twins because it kind of throws you off.
Yeah,
kind of like maybe as a parting note, like how come Linda Hamilton, who played Sarah Connor in the Terminator movies,
who I met by the way,
at Terminator 1, Terminator 2, she was an actress. She has a twin sister who, spoilers, shows up in Terminator 2.
No way.
And yet the twin never was an actress, as far as I can tell. I was like, how could you not do that? Like, you would think that it would be a real selling point.
Yeah, there's another actress too that a Canadian, long black hair. I can't remember her name now, but she was in a cop show like I don't know, not Hill Street Blues or one of those shows like Law and Order or something like that. I think she played a cop, but her sister is actually a scientist, like a white lab coat scientist, right? But she's been on TV and commercials and stuff like that. And yeah, another it's just totally weird when people are twins like that, right? So not that it's weird, not that there's anything wrong with twins. Don't whatever, take us the wrong way. It's very confusing when you're in a visual thing. Linda Hamilton, eh?
Linda Hamilton has a sister named Leslie Hamilton Guerin, mm-hmm. And the only entry for her as an actress is as the twin Sarah Connor in Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
So when does she show up in the movie? Now I'm confused.
So back in ye old days, they presumably spent all the budget on CGI
on the morphing,
just the T-1000. And it was like CGI wasn't really that good back then anyways, right? Like it wasn't as if it was going to be an easy cut and paste sort of thing. So when the T-1000 takes the form of Sarah Connor and looks her right in the face, that's her twin sister. Or
oh,
one
no
of the
way.
Two is her
really?
Twin sister.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah.
See, small thing. That's back in the theater. Maybe I that's another movie I never saw in the theater. Maybe I should go back and watch that in the theater, which is coming out soon. Weird. Yeah, I met her in Vancouver once. She was at a restaurant, and this guy I was with was just like fawning all over her, and so went and said hello to her and stuff like that. So then we left her alone, because in Canada we do that. When we see famous people, we don't necessarily run up to them. Well, maybe we run up to them and get an autograph signed by them, but it's only when they're accessible for that purpose. Yeah, we tend to leave them alone, which again another reason why actors like coming here too. Right? So we don't have paparazzi chasing people all over Toronto as well. I think that's another reason why actors like it up here. You can go to the Gap, or you can go check out Williams Sonoma and not get hounded by people, right? Yeah. Anyway, yeah. On that note, we'll say bye-bye. Bye.
Goodbye.
Okay, see ya. And I'll say goodbye to you this time.
Is this the real goodbye? It's hard to tell sometimes.
Yeah, I know. You never know. Is this a show? Is this still a show?
Is this the show?
All right, 2 hours, 50 minutes. I'm sure we got plenty of material for 2 podcasts. All right.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so we had our sort of what the hell do we think the show is about going to be moment. That's good. All right. Mm-hmm. Talk to you later.
See you later.
Bye.